Miles, welcome back, our official World Cup correspondent. Bugger, football not coming home, mate. Spain with a better side on the night, you got to say.
So it was an international game on. I was watching the Premier League with West Ham playing absolute rubbish and pounding Chelsea.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that conversation.
Only joking. Do you know something, though? It is so typical England. Before going into the game, I was thinking, this isn't the blokes, this is the women. They've looked the better side. I mean, don't forget Japan pounded Spain 4-0. They got defensive vulnerabilities. England looks really good against Australia. And I thought, yeah, that's it, they're going to win. But it must be a contagious disease for English football that when it comes to the maman critique, that they fall over. And they did. And I don't think that even the most rabid England fan wouldn't deny that the Spanish deserved to win.
Yeah, well, you just didn't play, did you? I mean, it's just bizarre. I mean, they seemed to be choked in midfield. What was the selection wrong? Did she get her tactics wrong?
I don't know whether it was the tactics and that. I honestly, I mean, who knows? You know, you can't get inside those players' heads. But I think the fact that they were considered by the public, if not necessarily by the TAB, but they're considered by the public to be the favourites, I think that might have had a bit of a sort of a effect on their mentality and on their psyche. But to be honest, you know, the Spanish aren't a bad side. But when you look at what, you know, everyone's going on about England, you know, certain top players are injured and they've had the old, you know, ups and downs and sending off and all these sort of things. But when you look at that Spanish side, even the ones that are in the squad can't stand the coach. You know, maybe they respect him or fear him, I don't know. But, I mean, they had 12 decent players pull out, 15 at first, 3 of them, you know, relented in the end and went across there. How on earth did they manage to get all that way? And after losing 4-0 to Japan, as I mentioned, how do you raise yourself to that? How do you go on and beat everyone in sight and go on and win the title? I mean, it is a sort of Cinderella-type story with the coach being the Wicked Witch.
You know, it also is it rewrites everything that you think about, the team has to be on the same page as their coach. I mean, quite obviously, you don't. I don't know whether or not in their little bubble they all committed to each other and that's what actually happened. But, yeah, it's just a bizarre story when you look at it, isn't it? I mean, every single thing about it says this team is going to disintegrate terribly in public at this tournament, and they didn't.
Well, I can think straight off the top of my head when you mentioned that. I mean, and you're right, that is a sort of common thinking. But I can think of 2 incidents straight away where the coach was basically dismissed by the players when they would go out and actually do the business. 3 times, actually, now. Twice with English rugby. The 2003 World Cup, when Martin Johnson just told basically Woodward to bugger off when they went into extra time. We're in charge of that. We'll sort it. We don't want to listen to your dribble anymore. When old, what's his name, Brian, the other coach, went in 2011, when after they got pounded by South Africa, the players took over and ended up making it all the way to the final, and were a little bit unlucky maybe not to get a result against South Africa again in the final, much closer there. And then the 2010 World Cup, where for the All Whites, where basically, you know, Ricky was sort of, you know, pushed aside for the likes of Nelson and Simon Elliott, and they basically took over control and went through it unbeaten. So it has been done before. Maybe we give too much importance to the coach, although I'm not a believer in that as well. I think tactics is maybe one thing, but you can get anyone to do that. I think the man management is the key, and I think in this instance the players have said, let's forget, and they may have even used their dislike of him and their upset with him as motivation. Let's go and do it despite him. And whatever it was, it worked for him.
Olga Carmona, what a tournament. I mean, scoring the winner in the semi-final. We talked about that last week. Then a cracking left foot shot. Fizzed past the keeper. I don't know whether she should have got a fingertip to that. And then their most awful tragedy afterwards, that her father died during that game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you, I mean, I'm sure, well, I'd like to think that she'd say, I'd rather the old man be alive and we hadn't won. You do wonder, I mean, the sick side of me wonders, I wonder whether, if the last thing he saw was his daughter scoring and he had a big cardiac arrest, and that would be a decent way to go. If one of my sons scored a winning goal for England at the World Cup, or Champions League final for West Ham. Now I'm starting to sound as if I've been drinking. But with that, I'd die a happy man. So, I mean, it is a tragedy. I don't know the circumstances beyond his death, but hey, she'll go on and gain strength for it, and I think she'll feel proud that would hopefully be one of the last memories that her dad had.
Miles is with us and has been throughout the whole tournament. Been a cracking tournament, hasn't it? But and I'd also like to point out that we said this right at the beginning with all the naysaying going on and Grant Robertson chiding people for not buying tickets. These tournaments do take off, and we've seen it under 17s, men and women, under 20s in New Zealand. Women's World Cup rugby last year. New Zealanders love a good world tournament.
Yeah, they do. They're great supporters of it when it comes to that. They're not so good when it comes to their domestic competitions. They need to have things winning. I can imagine that if the All Blacks went on a 2-year losing streak that and was playing really rubbish, that Eden Park would be half full. Whereas you look at the English, whose team are rubbish almost perennially, and they sell out to Wickenham every time. I don't know, maybe it's a masochistic tendency, the fans that suffer together stay together, or whatever that means. But it shows that they can host and get behind a world tournament, and I was absolutely blown away. I thought they'd get reasonable crowds. I thought they'd sell out for the Football Ferns games, but the crowds that turned up for teams that were nothing to do with the home support here were just phenomenal. I just think it's absolutely brilliant.
So Spain are the best women's football team in the world, and also, Miles, the first country where men and women have both won this tournament. So that's significant as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Spanish will be absolutely delirious. What I'm interested in now is the initial follow-on effect will be great. All girls around the world wanting to play the game, which has got to be good for the game. You're seeing big crowds now because I think because of the association, like look at the Women's Premier League, big crowds with like the North London Derby and the Manchester Derby. All those games are getting huge crowds at those stadiums, but will it progress where you pay the same money as you do to see the men play and get those same crowds? If you get that, then they're going to get the equal recompense, the same sort of salaries, and we'll have extra to choose from. I know, I keep an eye out for the West Ham ladies, not because I particularly want to watch West Ham ladies play, but it's got West Ham in their name.
Yep.
I want the youth team to win. I want the under-7s to win because you've got that association with the club.
So in the end, we've got to say a deserved win for Spain. They've gone through the knockout stage, mate. They've played, beaten everyone, Switzerland, then the Netherlands, then Sweden, then England. There weren't no penalty shootouts or anything like that. So justifiably, they are the best team in the world.
No, they're the team that won that tournament.
There you go.
Played best in each game that they went in there. If they go out and dominate world football from now on, then fair enough. But you can win a tournament. I mean, look at Greece in 2004 at the Euros. They aren't the best team by any stretch of imagination at that time in Europe, but they played good tournament football and they did what needed to be done at each step of the way, and that's what Spain have done. England could play Spain 5 times now and win 4 of them. I think England is still a better side overall, but on the night they certainly were second best.
Devlin.
Tomorrow! And Queen's Park Rangers have won it!
The Platform.